this is our systems department. So when we talked about running a shoestring operation for our 200 workstations spread all around the province, this is it. We've got Wei Leung, who's one of our application developers. Greg Valcourt there next. Is our main application developer. We've got Patricia Simpson and Carol Weeb, who are our frontline desktop support. So they handle all like the open office questions and the application questions and stuff like that. And then there's that ugly son of a gun there on the end, who runs the basically all the infrastructure.
That's a lot of plaid there.
There's a lot of plaid there. It's
That one guy on the left is, and what's wrong with him?
Yeah, well, you just can't, you can dress some people up, but you can't.
He must be from the States.
Yeah. This turned sideways, but anyway, this is our main server rack. So we've got this is for our head office building. Our two big application servers are down there at the bottom. These are two of our KVM boxes. These are another couple of our KVM boxes here. We've got a SAN unit that we built that's using iSCSI. We've got some LTSP servers, and then some of our mail and infrastructure servers that we use. So, and we've got a couple of really, really big air conditioning units, fail-safe ones, that are behind that I didn't bother showing.
So you have, let's get some numbers here. You've got some, how many offices total?
We've got a total of 5, 6, 10 offices.
Okay, the remote offices, you have an LTSP server at the
Yeah,
remote
we've got an
offices?
LTSP server at each one of the offices. I'd like to not have, but unfortunately the best I can get at the remote offices is DSL connection.
So you have a
Yes.
server plus a number of workstations at each office?
Yeah, server plus a number of workstations at each office.
Do you support people doing remote work like on laptops and from Starbucks and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've got OpenVPN that we use because the fact that our main application is a web-based application, and of course we use OpenOffice, and we've also, of course, most of the people normally use we're using CalDAV for our DAViCal for our calendaring. We're using Squirrel Mail, I think, for our web-based mail, and then of course we use iStuff for the normal mail client. So with a Windows laptop, we can basically get people full functionality. Right? Each one of the individual servers has Samba available on it, so they can reconnect up and get to their files. They can, when we configure a laptop for somebody, we give them OpenOffice and Firefox and Thunderbird on the workstation, so they get access to their mail, their calendaring. It doesn't really. One of the beauties of what we've done is, although we can support a Windows desktop, and the way you work on the desktop is precisely the same as the Linux desktop, we just don't use the Windows desktop in-house. We use the thin client. But for the lawyers who want to do remote work, it's exactly the same.
So they don't wind up with local copies of the Word files?
No, we have policies in place. Obviously, one of the things that the way that the legal, our legal union works is each one of the lawyers is considered to be they're an individual lawyer conducting their own law practice, even though they're employed by Legalaid Manitoba. So they end up being bound by the Law Society of Manitoba's evidence rules. And of course, we have lots and lots of policies in place, and we tell them, look, store everything on the server. If you just keep storing everything on the server. And to their benefit, the lawyers are all pretty good. They don't generally tend to save things on the hard drive.
They could.
They could, but
Policy is stop.
yeah, the policy is we provide you with the shared data links so that you don't save it on the local box.
Did you get faced with situations where you have to obliterate data so it can never be recovered again?
Yes, one of the things that we have is we have something called FIPA, which I can't remember what it stands for, but freedom of information, privacy and policy, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, we have to anonymize data after so long, and some of the things that we have to do is actually deal with permanently deleting data. We have several policies in place. For instance, any piece of hardware that we get rid of, the disk drive doesn't go with it. Right? So I personally check every piece of hardware that leaves the building permanently, like, you know, we're gonna donate it somewhere, it's an end-of-line piece of hardware. And I have a very, very big sledgehammer and a screwdriver, and we don't even attempt to save the hard drives. We just smash them, and we get rid of them that way.
And is that considered adequate? I mean,
It's considered adequate for what it is that we're doing, and we smash them up. I smash them up into very small pieces.
You gotta buy
so-
a shredder.
Yeah, well, I've
Next
put
time you
in.
get money in the budget.
Yeah,
buy a shredder.
buy a metal. Yeah,
This-
one of
this
those
shredder.
one of those ones that you see the let shred. Yeah, your Kenneth
Well,
shred.
that shredder is made for it.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, well, I'm going to sweep this way across. So, did that answer your question?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think.
I was just curious, you mentioned OpenOffice and LibreOffice. Are you using, which one are you using?
We're using LibreOffice. We started with OpenOffice, but of course in Debian, we're now running Debian, and in Debian it's LibreOffice. From our point of view, the two of them are interchangeable. I think on the workstation, when we load it up on laptops, we're loading up OpenOffice, and then we're using LibreOffice on the.
Because OpenOffice project is kind of dead. That's what I've been writing about.
Yeah, it's most of the development I think has switched over, but I'm not quite sure. Where's LibreOffice at with the Windows versions?
Oh, they have.
They've got all the Windows versions. Yeah, I think we were still loading the OpenOffice versions.
Was OpenOffice still the Oracle project, but LibreOffice was the Apache project or something, or?
No,
OpenOffice was Oracle, and then they gave it to the Apache Foundation.
Yeah. But I think
that
if
was
I remember
done
correctly, it was all the big developers sort of switched over to LibreOffice. So most of the main development work is basically going on in LibreOffice. That's what we're mainly running now. We're quite happy with it. I mean, we've been using LibreOffice for well over 10 years now. And quite happy with it. Does everything we want. A lot of the people still call it WordPerfect.
Of course they do.
Old habits die hard.
They don't know.
Yes.
Do you make any attempt to encrypt your data so
We are encrypting all of our VPN links. We don't encrypt any of the data on the hard drives at the moment because of the fact that we have physical security and control of all of the data. At some point, because of the fact that we're bound by some of the Law Society of Manitoba regulations, and they don't at this point require us to encrypt the data, and in fact, in some cases, don't want us to because we could get spot audited. We haven't yet, but certainly for us, encrypting the home directories and the shared directories wouldn't be difficult, and we could turn that on at any time. But somebody would have to break into our data center and take the archives in order to be able to get any of the data. Most of the stuff that's out at the branch offices as well, all of the servers are usually behind locked door and key. So, and alarm.
Postgres runs quite well on an encrypted file system.
Yeah.
You can put your database on an encrypted file system.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
So certainly it's something that we could look at, and I'm certainly ready to do it, but policies and whatever else. We're still in Manitoba. We still don't have there was a project that started up several years ago to try to do encrypted signed emails from lawyers, like do digital signatures, and it went nowhere. You have an awful lot of single practitioner lawyers who can barely load. They're still confused by data coming from the Crown in PDF format. They don't know how to handle it. And you know, if you're a single practitioner and you don't have a lot of money, chances are we've still got lots of signal practitioners who are running like XP and stuff like that. There's a lot of guys that are barely hanging on, so. And like I say, because it's an environment that, you know, mainly what they wanna deal with is paper, change sometimes comes slowly, so. There's what, all of our systems are capable of doing it, we've got all of the stuff in place, we're just running. Sorry, I saw another question.
Yeah, two things, sort of related, how do you handle backups, and what file system do you use for that?
Backups we're basically, we have two backup servers. We have one backup server in our data center, which we coalesce on a nightly basis using rsync. All of the other servers, both around the province and in the data center, too. And then we have another backup server off-site where we do a 30-day rotational, like a differential rsync, and we keep 30 days worth of history. And so that's located, I think, at least a couple of kilometers away from our head site. So, and up high enough. One of the things that we have to worry about in Manitoba is flooding. So we made sure that it was up high enough that in the event that the first two floors got flooded, then we'd be able to recover. So.
And file system?
File system, I'm basically just sticking with ext4 on just about all of our stuff. Works. We're not doing a lot of high performance computing, right? So.
Is that the default for Debian?
Yeah, that's the default for Debian. I know you're probably wanting me to.
Yeah.
Can we take one more question, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with what you did. You managed to do everything you needed in-house to avoid Microsoft and everything else. I noticed that your staff of 4 people, basically, everybody does something different. How do you handle redundancy in staff knowledge? If one of those people got ran over by a truck or something,
Or travels to the US for 2 weeks.
what would happen?
That is an ongoing concern. I'm retiring in 8 years, and that's going to be a concern that Legal Aid is going to have. The first fellow is supposed to be trying to cover off both Greg and I. He's more of a developer than a systems administrator. We're trying to train him up, but as most of you know, a lot of developers don't like systems administration.
Yes.
Because
Wouldn't it be advisable to, instead of having 4 people, because you're saving hundreds if not millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands if not millions of dollars, to have 8 people, 2 on each category?
it would, but unfortunately, the hiring and firing of people is up to Treasury Board, and Treasury Board sees that we can run with 5, and so their take on the subject is until there is a problem, they see no need to change. So, yeah. Anyway.
All right, so Scott will be at dinner tonight. You can
I'll
come
be
to
at dinner.
dinner and talk to him more. We
Absolutely.
do need to get on to Gib.